Big news, Falcons fans. You now have your pass rusher you've been asking for a very long time. Falcons completing a trade with the New England Patriots for Matthew Judon for a third-round pick in 2025. Falcons making a big statement, making a win-now move with this trade. Obviously, they have been criticized for not selecting a pass rusher in this year's NFL draft with the first pick they had. They did go ahead and draft Braylon Trice in the third round, but he is out for the year with a torn ACL. So the Falcons had to make a move with the pass rush looking very weak because of that injury, and they made a big one. New England's best player, Matthew Judon, is now an Atlanta Falcon. They absorb his $6.5 million base salary he has right now, with an expectation from a couple of reports that they will talk about a new contract. Judon, who turns 32 when the clock strikes midnight tonight, is looking to now bring the pass rush that we have seen from him in these last few years in New England to Atlanta. Last year, he was injured, did not play in as many games, only had 4 sacks. But when he was healthy the previous 2 years, he had 15.5 and 12 sacks with the New England Patriots. And people knew the impact that he brought to that team on the defensive end with his ability. Now you have a chance to line up Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, Zach Harrison, Matthew Judon, and Arnold Ebiketie as your 5 down guys, your 2 pass rushers, and your 3 linemen. I don't know about you guys. That sounds like one of the best in the NFL to me, but obviously that's just the starting unit. Maybe you move Lorenzo Carter back to the second team now and pair him up with who you have in that group as well, with a lot of the young talent, especially in the interior of this defensive line. So Terry Fontenot has been criticized for not being aggressive. And one thing I've always said about Terry Fontenot is he is not I'm just going to give up everything we have to acquire a player. As much as some fans want him to do that because they want to win, and I understand the wanting to win. You want victories. He was never going to just give up all his draft capital and all his cap flexibility to acquire a player. Now, obviously, we'll have to see what happens with the Judon contract talks with the Falcons, assuming that this trade was made with the agent and the Falcons already talking at this very moment in time. We'll have to see as we continue to move on. They could readjust his contract, give him some incentives for the year to pay him more money, and then revisit long-term contract talks after the season. We'll have to continue as this continues to develop to see what that actually ends up being. But what you get right now is a guy who bolsters your pass rush, and now Terry can get people off his back about not addressing the position, getting a star defensive end. The last time the Falcons were aggressive for a star pass rusher and got him was probably Ray Edwards? And he didn't even work out here. And if you're talking about last successful, it was John Abraham. So obviously, we heard throughout the offseason the Falcons have tried to acquire some pass rushers. They tried to trade up in the draft to acquire a pass rusher and did not find any success. But now they have found success, like I said, acquiring Matthew Judon from the New England Patriots. And a move through so far on social media has received a lot of positive feedback. A lot of people are very excited about this move. A lot of people feel very good about Atlanta now. If you're a fan who was on the fence about the team because of the pass rush, you have filled that need. Now where do you stand? Falcons bolt themselves up to the top of the NFC, up there with the 49ers, up there with the Green Bay Packers and all them as a team that, hey, they're already were favorited without the pass rush to win the NFC South. Now getting that pass rusher, you're thinking maybe they can make a deep playoff run, NFC Championship game appearance potentially. And so this is going to be interesting, especially with another visit they had this week, bringing in Justin Simmons, former Pro Bowl safety. You know, he left Flowery Branch without a deal. He did the same thing to New Orleans last week. We don't know what the status of that is. He may be still considering the Falcons. He's in no rush to sign right now with a team. If the Falcons are able to pull that off, get that worked out with Judon, and then get Simmons on top of that, now a defense that you may have had a lot of questions about, now all of a sudden you feel very strongly about that they can repeat last year of being a top 15 defense in the league. So overall, I think a lot of people are excited about the move, getting Matthew Judon for just a third-round pick. Some people would call it a steal in that situation. So obviously that's a big deal right there. Obviously, according to Jordan Schultz from the Short Report on Twitter, he said that multiple teams were interested in Matthew Judon, but it eventually came down to the Bears and the Falcons, and the Falcons finalized the deal today. So the Falcons winning, as we've heard their names in a few pass rusher trade talks, winning a trade in that position. Obviously, Ed Warder tweeted out a great stat. Over the last 5 seasons, Judon has posted the 4th highest pressure rate out of 140 players with at least 1,000 pass rushes. Only Micah Parsons, Joey Bosa, and Nick Bosa rank higher than him. So that just shows you the type of company that he is in. Again, some people may be concerned coming off injury. Where is he at right now? But a lot of people, from what I've seen from New England camp, is he looks good. Obviously, the biggest thing was just the contract negotiations. And New England, obviously, going younger, going through the rebuilding process right now. This is what sometimes you do when you're going through the rebuild. You give up some of your best talent because you know, hey, they want to win now, especially Judon at 32. He wants to compete probably at this point in his career, doesn't want to go through a few losing seasons. New England understands that, honors that, and says, we'll let you go to a team that's trying to compete. So obviously that works. And if you look at Daniel, and actually not Daniel Flick, Adnan, say which way on Twitter, had a great point about the third round picks that the Falcons have had that they gave up in the trade. Last few third round picks for this team: Jalen Mayfield, Desmond Ridder, D'Angelo Malone, Zach Harrison, and Braylon Trice. Right now, out of all those moves, only one, and that's just assuming Zach Harrison continues to ascend, looks good. Braylon Trice, we won't see him this year, so we won't know. Mayfield was a bust, Ridder was a bust, and D'Angelo Malone is on the border bubble of being cut, potentially making the team. So it was completely fine trading a third round pick for an established veteran, as he mentioned in the trade. So like I said, it was really good. The Falcons were able to make a move like this, only giving up a third round pick, getting the pass rush that they need, and now, you know, I like I said, I asked you guys, how do you guys feel about the Falcons now after making a move like this? Do you feel like this bolts them to Super Bowl contention? Do you feel like that now you just feel better about the defense and that you will be a firm playoff team? Do you still have more questions about this team moving forward? I mentioned Justin Simmons. If they were able to pull that off, I think that would probably clear up anybody else's questions outside of obviously cornerback 2, which is between Mike Hughes. Looks like it will be Mike Hughes right now, or Clark Phillips at that spot. But overall, Falcons clearly showing that they're trying to win this year. This is not we're going to go half in, but also built for the future, even though some of the moves may have dictated that. The Falcons are showing themselves in a position right now to be a team that wants to try to win in an open NFC. You know who you have to go through. It's the San Francisco 49ers. You beat them, you're probably going to be the best team in the NFC, unless another team emerges, obviously, before the season starts, and injuries and everything of that nature. So very excited for the Falcons to be aggressive and making a move like this. Curious to see what other moves come from this move, and we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll be on top of that for you guys here on my YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video for more Falcons coverage. Obviously, the Falcons are getting ready to play in their second preseason game. Still waiting to hear if the starters will play in that game. Apparently, today at training camp, as this was reported, they had a great day of practice. They were apparently going bombs away out there, and Drake London was a guy who had one of his best practices. They play Baltimore Saturday at noon, like I said, in the second game. So that obviously ends up working out for the Falcons, as Judon probably will not play in this preseason. We probably will not see him in a Falcons uniform until week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's okay for a guy like that. Best thing you want to do is make sure he gets to the regular season healthy, make sure he's ready to go, and make sure he's ready to line up against the Pittsburgh Steelers and hopefully give either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson a run for their money. But that's all we got here, guys. Drop your reactions down below. It's your boy,